today we are here with a new hunter build. Well, not new, but you know, it's something that I've been wanting to try, and it seems to be pretty effective. So this build is built around Void, but you could theoretically use any class because the main thing that this is built around is Bombardiers. Now, what do Bombardiers do? Now, Bombardiers have been out for a while, but they kind of got a severe upgrade when they actually use 3.0 wordage in how they work. So, dodging leaves behind an explosive that detonates after a short delay, damaging targets around it and creating a secondary effect based off your subclass energy type. Now, one quick note, these effects only affect those that aren't killed by the initial explosion. So if they die to the explosion, it does not count as being like affected by suppression or slow or sever, you know, because they died before the effect was applied, I guess, is kind of how it works. Now, one more thing to note about this is if you do not have the Shadowkeep expansion, you cannot get these. And there's not really anything you could theoretically replace with this for exactly how the playstyle works. So I do apologize for that, but back to the build. So we're going to start out within the subclass. I like throwing spectral blades on, and the only reason for that is because like the whole point of this build is you're going to be in the enemy. Also, spectral blades got a buff, and I thought maybe I might use them, and it's cool. The point of this build is to be next to the enemies and being kind of in their face, right? Because Bombardiers only work if you're near the enemies. So here is kind of the flow of the build. We'll just talk about abilities. We're going to have Gambler's Dodge on. I like strafe jump. You could use triple jump. That's really preference. I have snare bomb. There's obviously no other things. Suppressor nade is a mainstay of this, right? You want suppressor nade because it works in tandem with your suppression on your boots. Now we want trapper's ambush. You don't have to could use vanishing step, but I find trapper's ambush to be better for overall because it's easier to cause damage to enemies and you can make your teammates invisible, and like there's really no reason not to have it. Otherwise, your melee is kind of lackluster and doesn't really deal damage, so you can't use that to generate your grenade. And the stylish executioner, so anything weakened, suppressed, volatile, grants him invisibility. And that's the cool thing is you have a suppressor nade, you also have your boots, so anything that dies actually gets suppression and you kill it, then you go invisible. Now this, you want Devour. Like Devour gives you health on kill, so you want this because the whole, like I said, you're going to be amongst the enemies and there's really a lot of room for error, and to not have this, you probably just be asking for death. Especially, you see my stat right here, this 8 recovery. Yeah, you need Devour. Now Void buffs applied, invisibility, overshield, and Devour have increased duration. This is a must. It does take 10 mobility, but like you want your invisibility and overshields to last and Devour to last as long as they can. And then domineering, the reason why we're using suppression. After suppressing a target, you gain greatly increased mobility, and I will say, your mobility actually goes up quite a bit. It's not like a little bit, it's a big difference in mobility. And your equipped weapons is reloaded from reserves. Defeating suppressed targets creates a void breach, so you're getting more void breaches, you get plus 10 to your discipline, nothing really to complain about there. And then I just added this because you get volatile weapon or volatile rounds for your weapons if you get grenade kills with your suppressor grenade. And this grenade actually does a lot of damage. So like you do get volatile rounds a lot, and it plays into stylish executioner. Now I kind of really wanted high resilience and high strength for this build and kind of high mobility. I could not scrape out any extra. I wasted like 90 ward table engrams on this armor and bro, it hurts my soul. I can't even change it unless I want to drop out of the tier. So here we go for the build. We can go to our mods, get an easier look. Obviously, stats are really kind of up to you. I would say resilience is the only mandatory stat that you want like a max of, because like I said, the point of this build is to go in, you know, melee, like to suppress and go invisible and suppress. And the way suppression works is kind of like blinding enemies, except like suppression actually works for you to your ability regen and stuff like that. So back to the build, we want Dynamo, because if we're going to be dodging, we're going to be near enemies because of Bombardiers, so might as well get some super cooldown for it. Void Siphon, Rapid Void Weapon, Final Blows, create an orb of power, and very important, you want orbs. There's no build that won't require at least one Siphon mod. So we got Font of Wisdom on, basically just if I have an armored charge, I'm going to be having increased intellect, and with 27 intellect is probably, I mean, I could throw something else on here. I could throw like hands on or ashes to assets, but I just thought, like, that doesn't really matter. This is the only real necessary in this, probably, because Dynamo, you're going to be getting your super, like, it gives you pretty decent chunk. On to here, so causing damage with your melee attack reduces grenade cooldown. Now, the reason why I have these on is because it does not require that you kill an enemy. It just says deal damage. And the whole point is we're going to be amongst the enemies. Like, you need, like, this is just free grenade energy. So, and then it grants class ability energy when you cause damage with the melee attack. So we're trying to get our dodge back too. And you'll see this kind of creates a pretty decent loop with our fragments and all these mods where you can kind of just always keep spamming stuff. There's really not a point when you can't. Elemental charge, collecting fire sprite, ionic traces, stasis shards, or void breaches, or destroying strand tangle has an escalating chance to give you armor charge. We're going to be collecting so many void breaches that this is unnecessary, and kind of to make up for a lack of 100 mobility, we have font of agility. So if we have any stacks of armor charge, again, we're getting our mobility stat increased, and font of wisdom, we're also getting our intellect increased. And intervention, just if we pick up any orbs, we will get our cooldown for grenades decreased. Now, if you're finding yourself dying, you could always use better already or recuperation, like, or if you want your melee back more, like, you could use other ones. It's not absolutely necessary. You could also use surge mods. I just put this on because, like, I have 44 disciplines. The 1 minute 50 cooldown. That's not that long, but long enough. Now on to my cloak. I have 2 bomber mods on. Beans is like the slowest out of it, both of the ones that I could get here. Like, that's what I was going to use. So just dodging, also just dodging in general will give me my grenade back quicker. And then powerful attraction, automatically collect nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. Huge, right? I'm just getting free armor charge when I activate my class ability for free, doing nothing, right? Now you could swap out maybe one of these for like a Reaper mod, which I probably should do now I think about it. So that's kind of the mods for this. Now onto the weapons. Now the main thing about the weapons, the only one that really matters is tractor cannon. Why tractor cannon? Because this weapon emits a powerful impulse that pushes enemies away, suppresses their abilities, and makes them more vulnerable to all incoming damage. That is the point. Tractor cannon and bombardiers are the reason for this build. These weapons can be swapped out. I would recommend, like, if you're going to be using the volatile grenade, like you can get funnel web, you can get age-old bond. There's all kinds of stuff that you can get, and we'll show a little bit on the screen. The point of this build is, and the cycle of this build is to use your trapper's ambush, which means you're going to die. You're going to use it. Go invisible. Now you're in the middle of the enemies. Then you use bombardiers, right? You're still invisible because you have such a long cooldown on your invisibility. Oh, cool. Like, they just took a bunch of damage. They're all suppressed. You could throw a nade. You could use tractor cannon. You could use your regular weapon and get a couple kills. Well, your invisibility was just extended. Oh, throw your suppressor nade. You know, suppress some more enemies. Your guns are all reloaded, and now what do you do next? Oh, you could now that you dodged, you got your trapper's ambush back. Use it again. Like, it's just like it feeds into itself. And being that most of the time you're invisible, like, you're pretty safe. It's just having high resilience, like, that's just a safety precaution in case you find yourself without your abilities, which you really shouldn't. A lot of the stuff feeds into each other, and there will kind of never be a moment when you won't have your abilities. Now, last thing we talk about is artifact mods. I do not have all of them unlocked. Like, this might be good, but I don't see it being like, oh man, you know, breaking. It might actually, though. It could, but I haven't seen anything on the internet about it. I don't know about you, so I don't believe it's going to be that bad. Most people are calling this a pretty weak artifact. I don't think it's weak. I think it's just weaker than last season. But if you're unlocking the artifact, main ones you'd want to get is probably unauthorized or authorized void mods. Unto the breach, defeating a void debuff target creates a void breach, so you're just getting more void breaches, and picking up a void breach gives you an overshield or refreshes your existing overshield. Like, these in tandem with each other are actually kind of nuts. Like, you're always having overshields, and especially with this build, like, you're always having overshields even while you're invisible, so you're getting the resilience from the overshields and your regular resilience stat. Like, you're kind of unkillable, and you're suppressing all the targets, so nothing's really shooting at you anyways. That's kind of what I'm saying. This is kind of a ridiculous build, because you're gonna kind of be able to just run around and do whatever you want even after this artifact is gone. Like, it's not necessary. And if you do not have Shadowkeep, like, I don't know what you could replace it with. I mean, I guess if you just put on like Stompies or something, like, I guess it wouldn't really be that big of a difference, because half the time Bombardiers don't really work. But the nice thing about this build is you really could just go like swap. Oh, now I'm on solar, now I have Scorch, and now I could just change up my weapons a little bit and kind of play the same kind of game, and I'll be fine. Or, oh cool, I'm gonna go here. And that's kind of all I have for today, but this is a hunter build for you. But here is a little bit of gameplay so that you can kind of see how the flow of the build works. So I'll just stop talking and let you watch, kind of feel for it.
Extraction confirmed. The hostages are...
I thank you all for watching and hanging out, and I will see you all later.